So Tom, this is our second formative meeting, or third really, because we've had our pitch, we've had our first formative meeting, and today is our last one before you submit. So what we're looking at is just making any suggestions that we can that will take your work to the next level. So if we look at, and this is what I recommend you do as well, so look at the guidance website, just this bad boy. We're after the matrix on the homepage. What we're trying to do is think, right, does my work currently sit at showing an understanding, say, of context, or does it show a good understanding, or does it show a comprehensive understanding? So we're after trying to convert these words that are basics. We want, you know, I know for a fact your final project is looking absolutely fantastic. So we want to give you every opportunity to make sure that this body of work here reflects the outcome. So on that, to that extent, like I say, like, you know, what you've achieved with your final outcome as it stands, even, I would be quite happy to say that you've demonstrated a distinctive level in terms of your practical skills because of the outcome of the product. Now, to say that I can award a distinction for practical skills is wrong, because I can't see that. I haven't seen the website yet to see if that reflects it. But do you know what I mean? Like, in achieving an outcome that is distinctive, in my opinion, the work that's gone on to get there is, you know, to some extent you must assume that it could show that. Now, it's not to say that it can't, because I've had fantastic end products and process not be so good, and I know you're slightly concerned, particularly around your practical skill, only your research rather, and your context page. So we're trying to look at ways in which we can bolster and solidify strength and all those kind of adjectives to make it better, basically, in that sense. And we've got our proposal, and I think, like, one of the things we'll start off with today is just like from last time and your feedback, have you implemented the changes that were suggested on your feedback? So
there's a little paragraph there.
You said the main thing that could be improved was the context and research page. I need more research, because if I do not do more, it would be holding back my grade drastically. Things like writing more about games and movies I found, doing color palettes to help me, mood boards, also smaller things like capital letters for headers, and which is getting told my practice is good and amazing. Okay, so again, like, that is okay, but even that reflection doesn't really get to the heart of what was said. I'm sure I didn't just say do more research. What I would like to see is you saying, right, like, the focus for the research suggested that I look at examples X, Y, and Z, like PT for the endless corridors. I don't know, something else for the photorealistic textures. Do you know what I mean? So what I need your blogging to do is to get to as much, and I know this is the thing that's like less engaging for you, but it's about you highlighting the good practice that you do when you're doing your practical work. So, like, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis is, especially with Unreal Engine, you found your feet with it. You're really good at, you know, you're really rapid in your problem solving, and that, you know, bodes really well for next year and for getting a great grade. But where the lack of depth in the reflective writing is holding us back, basically. You know, I can't go to an external assessor. Tom's work is a distinctive level, because they're, well, certainly in terms of this, like research and context, it doesn't demonstrate anything like as much detail as I would need to say I can give it that merit or distinction. And that's what we want to do here today. Okay. So what you need to do for the next 12 days, as much time as you can put into it and to bear to do it, is to go back to your research and your research and your context page, and just go like, well, why did I do that? How have I ended up doing that? And just do a bit more detail. You know, so if after today you can just make yourself, if you think about, right, let's say on a really basic level, how much can I do? Like, how much can I stand to do? Because I know it's something you don't necessarily enjoy doing, is it, writing? So we've got, like I say, 12 days. So if you did two paragraphs a day, say 100 words a day, or 100 words per paragraph, so like 200 words a day, like little paragraphs I'm talking about, not too much, with some documentation, with some supporting video, imagery, etc. You can get, so that's 24 blog entries that you could do. And that, I'm honestly certain that would make, just in terms of, even if what you wrote in there wasn't always really high level, it would give me the volume of information that I need.
Like, what about though? Like, what?
Well, that's what we're coming on to next. So what we need to do is think about what you have covered in order to get to thorough and sustained research. Now, I imagine, like, when you've gone into practical skills, a lot of the things that you do in Unreal Engine, you're sort of problem solving, you're working things out yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got quite a lot in practical skills.
But I guess you still watch your videos, haven't you? So
yeah, I've put all the I've uploaded like a YouTube video for the videos I have watched.
Right. This already looks way healthier than your context and research page.
Yeah.
So that's really good. That little bit of insight. So just in as an example, right? How could you take this bit of text where you said, to make the most of my blueprints, look cleaner, tidier, I selected parts into groups and pressed the C key to make a comment so that I could go back and understand what I'm looking at if something goes wrong. That's great. What could you do? What else could you do in terms of like add to that, do you think?
I mean, I just think it's useful because like in Unreal you can obviously do that.
Yeah.
So it's useful to, like I said, like you can go back to it if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
You're not going to be looking at just a whole blueprint of like.
But what gave you the idea to do that? Did you see someone else do it?
And you can move. I mean.
Did you see when you were looking at other
videos?
videos?
I think, like other videos and like or one of the tutorials, or maybe you said or something in the class.
Yeah, it is really important. I do it. It is like otherwise I don't know what the hell's going on in blueprints because the whole thing with blueprints is, especially yours, you're doing some really complex stuff. So this kind of blueprint, like you say, if you come back to this and that was on a level blueprint with tons of other stuff, you wouldn't know what the hell that was potentially after a little while. I mean, we know because it says a footstep. That would be maybe an easier one. But so the thing to do with this kind of thing is to go, right, how can I add or come back to these blog entries? Not a case of adding more research for the sake of it, but come back to the ones you've got and go, right, I did this because I saw in other videos that lots of content creators do this. And I just sort of, it suddenly clicked with me that this is going to get really messy really quickly if I don't do this. So this is part of my practice moving forward is something I'm going to do. And then maybe an illustration of like, some more of them together.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So that's just one example where you could like double that by saying why you did it or where you got the idea from, or even if you did a how-to thing, like then you've gone on and done.
I could say like an example of like what it would look like without, and then how messy it would be.
Yeah.
And obviously with it like all like
yeah. Or you could actually go back and show maybe you didn't do it on your previous group project, and you can just go right in my last group project, this was the blueprint for this level, and as an example, look how messy this is compared to now when I'm adding comments, and that would be really good because that's showing you linking back to past practice and like where you come in. Yeah, exactly. So in this one with retro gas station. This is a screenshot of 3D snow texture of the retro gas station I made where the gas station is blended. So again, right with this, I made the textures. I made this gas station in Blender, and I got the textures from texture.com. I used images and modeled them around from the prompts and made sky completely. Okay, so that's okay, but there's more. Like there's way more that you could add to that in terms of detail.
Yeah.
And so what you do is sort of skim over the bits that are important, which is you're a person that is pure, like really heavily aware of aesthetics, right? So you're someone that naturally kind of sees when something does and doesn't look good. Okay? Yeah. So that in-depth understanding of aesthetic awareness is kind of something that's built into you, right? And it's sort of similar to me, like that's my thing. Like I'm not as good at coding, but I can certainly see when something looks wrong, but this is the thing that where we could get more evidence. So you've purposely made a station, a gas station, although it's very minimalist. There's not, you think, well, there's not that much to talk about, it's just a minimalist sort of not much there, it's an empty sort of gas station, but you're trying to create that sort of foreboding sense of like something dark. We know it's a gas station because we've got that, but what I would like to see here is that you didn't just say, I went to textures.com and got some textures. You didn't do that. What you did was you went to textures.com and you purposely identified textures that were appropriate, like the metal for these posts or whatever it would be. Yeah. You wouldn't have just gone, I'll just get metal or type in metal. You'd have gone, actually, I don't like that, or I think this doesn't look quite right, so I'll change the texture coordinates in Unreal. Do you know what I mean? So it's just adding that little bit of extra oomph to the story, to what's happening as to why that's gone on. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I'm not asking you to like reblog anything. It's just add more depth to this. You could then say, I was trying really hard to get a retro, nostalgic sort of Petrocom. I didn't want it to feel of current era because that would take away the sense that it was an isolated gas station where you would expect a little shop next to it or a Greg's or whatever. That would take away from it. So have you got like anywhere in your research examples of like just old abandoned gas stations or something?
I haven't.
No. So again, like that would be really nice. Then you could go, right, here's some reference images that I took. Here's me looking at an old gas pump, and that's then I say, right,
there's one near like here somewhere.
Yeah,
like just like two pumps that are just
that you drive by or something. Yeah, and that's probably in your subconscious. That's probably what you modelled yours off, is
gas station.
Yeah, so like yours does look like this. I'm sure you didn't just make yours up. It's come from yours looks very distinctively like that. So to that end, yours, you could say, oh, it's just a box, but it's not, because you've put the pump on the side, you've got the meter there, you've got like the lights feel right, got the snow and stuff. That's the thing that I need to happen, basically, or you need to make happen, is to really just draw those links between what you do and what happens in the outcome. The train, like I say, that I know for a fact the outcome, I've seen the outcome happening. Even like the thing I know, like as another case study, we looked at this the other week, didn't we? The UI overlay thing. The video above is a VHS overlay video from the right. I follow the YouTube video. So my observation of that process happening is already way more detailed than what I can see here. And I know, like, you don't want to sit there and write for ages. It might be that you just find it easy to audio record and write, do a blog if you want to, or vlog rather. But I showed you how to do it, and we got a static image as a placeholder. We switched out the UI basically from the gun blueprint, didn't we? And we changed that to this. And it was static, and it was just a video placeholder. So from that, you went, actually, yeah, that's okay, but I really want this blinking light on my thing. So again, that's you not just settling for something, that's you going,
bit of movement in it.
That's you going, well, I could do that, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a VHS sort of what's it called when it like tears or whatever is
like if you in the video.
So you wanted that sort of like, and you wanted that kind of really sort of retro feel from the camera.
I added the sound in as well, which is that little sound player. It's like a sound I just put permanently on, like
a static-y sound. Yeah. But again, these are all things that are happening, but this little bit of text doesn't give me anything like as much information as it could have. Okay, so I feel like sometimes your minimalist formatting of your site constrains you to what you write. You just fill out a little space and you go, "Oh, I've talked about that. I'll do," but I don't have the thing of you going, well, I wanted, Frazer showed me to do it with a static image, and we did it with a PNG, and we just customized the blueprint widget. From there, I got the gist of how to use a blueprint widget, and to then take that on to the next stage, I looked at a video because I wanted to have an animated texture. Initially, that didn't work, did it? It was broken, or it wasn't coming in right.
It was,
Oh yeah, no, then it stayed all white, didn't it? So then you worked out straight away, you were like, oh, that's permanently white because it's leaving it there when I go into the gameplay mode. So I went and had to make it destroy the instance of the parent or whatever it was that got rid of it.
Like the resolution as well. Remember, it was like slightly off.
Off center. So then you used one of those widget tools to lock it to the middle of the screen and stuff. Yeah. So those are all really, really good things that I want to go, look, Tom's bloody absolutely on it. Like, he's nailing all this stuff. And like I said, you can't produce an outcome as good as what you have produced without doing that level of detail. And like things like, when we were saying there was an earlier instance was the footsteps staying in one level and things like that. There's tons of problem solving, tons of process that you've got going. The feeling, the liminal feeling that you set out to achieve is definitely there. So there's loads of things that I'd like to be able to go, this is it, but that's not where the blog sits at the minute. Okay, I think really it's about going back to each of the blog posts and trying to think, right, well, what have I missed out that I haven't said that happened?
All right.
It's harder now because it's like sort of retrospect, but the more you can do that, just try and get in the zone and think, right, actually, this is what happened, and I can do that, and I can talk about that. Okay. In terms of adding extra research, I think again, what we're after is things like, as an example, we've got a menu and a UI system. So let's have some research that reflects menu design and UI in games. So, so have we got an example of a game with a retro what am I saying? Camcorder overlay. So I'm sure there'd be a horror game. I feel like Five Nights at Freddy. No, does that have it? Some game.
Something like that.
There must be some game that has.
Any like kind of like indie horror game, I guess.
Yeah,
would have it.
Definitely.
I could definitely find something.
Indie horror stuff.
Oh, Outlast.
Yeah, perfect.
And you have the camera up.
Yeah, because and some games will show you the perspective of like a security camera in the corner of the room, like a fixed camera. Not that yours is that, but you know, it shows you that because it uses a UI.
Yeah.
So those, you know, it's not say exactly just rip it off, but you're saying like where the reference came from. Like I'm pretty sure Resident Evil was the idea that you viewed this action from security cameras and things. So that it's about that, and then you can link it back to say the Blair Witch Project, which is all that handheld shaky cam stuff. Yeah. And it doesn't have to always be games, but that shaky cam handheld camcorder feeling meant that you felt like you were the person in the film anyway. That was like, you know, what broke the kind of standard things of film. So yeah, that's the kind of like things. And what else if we think about that, playtesting you're doing, is there evidence of that happening here?
Well, like in the full game?
Yeah, or not even just, or no, more so like demos and things. Is that on the practical skills?
I don't think I've done any of that. Like I know I need to like record someone going through the game. Yeah. Like to see just with no input from me.
No, but not just someone. Like if you because you've got a playable product and you have been doing it where you go, come over here, and you've been doing the same, playing at other people's. That's been going on for like 3 or 4 weeks. But so you need to record that and say that that's happened. So in week 1 you did it.
Yeah, because I think it's in practical skills where I've got like each time I did a level. Yeah. And I've got like a playthrough of it. Yeah. And then like at the bottom there's like 1, 2, 3.
I know you did surveys about.
It's not on there yet. I will get it on there because they're on like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah. But that's the thing that needs to come on there, and that's like that. Honestly, that's gonna. If I can't award this, if you make it so that I can't award it a merit or a distinction, I'm gonna be set. Like you're gonna be obviously disappointed. I'm gonna be gutted for you because that's the only thing that will hold it back. Do you know what I mean?
No,
That's the thing where at the moment I could see myself having to give it a pass for research and context because there's not enough information there.
Yeah.
Where if you can just make yourself sit there and blog a bit more and talk about, right, well, what is the essence of a horror game? How is the lighting so important? How do I get that vignette effect where I've got like, you know, the darker edges, and how do I get why is it so important that I add these little stains into the wall and things? If that was perfect, like, you know, the clock going the wrong way and sort of all those things that they're like things that are tropes of other films or other franchises, or like you know, those ideas are great, as well as tying into the whole the unnerving thing of the liminal spaces thing is really important. But there's not enough on here that tells me that I can say with confidence that I can give it those grades because those things aren't missing. Okay.
All right.
So go back to every page you've added. Look at the menu design, UI design. Look at what did I just say about the aesthetic sort of presentation? Yeah.
I'll go and do I'll do the menu, like looking at games with a similar menu.
Yeah.
The overlay for the VHS, kind of like, I don't know, 80-tone film kind of thing.
Yeah. The game where you play from a kid's perspective as well.
Yeah.
What was that called?
Sleep.
Among the Sleep.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Games that sort of change that perspective. Games that have jump scares like Five Nights at Freddy's and those kinds of like things. And especially, like you're saying, a lot of indie games. Also think about games that have like VR links as well, because a lot of VR horror games have that kind of jump scare thing. And yeah, so it's just thinking about like those sorts of things. And also your level design is really nice. Like you know, when you make someone crawl through a tunnel, you've got something popping out at them because that's the point when you feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
So if you had that little bit of insight in here again, like Among the Sleep, linking to your soft play level would be perfect, because you can go, right, look, this is a place when as a child you feel vulnerable, making the player feel like they're in a confined space crawling through a tunnel, and then have my enemy pop up, then it's going to have more impact than it just making a screeching sound and rushing over from the corner of the room.
Yeah.
Because you feel, it's a virtual thing, but you feel trapped.
Yeah, no, yeah. No, like, yeah.
So those are the things that, like, you could really just show me that you understand, which you do, but they don't communicate here. So whereas I definitely think at the moment I would, I might even be saying that it's hard to sort of say it's sufficient. I'd probably say it's sufficient and relevant information has been gathered and documented, but definitely I couldn't say that it's thorough and sustained. But the thing is, the stuff has happened and it has been thorough and sustained, but your site doesn't reflect that, right? So you've got to enable me to go, I want to give you a distinction. How can I make Frazer be able to give a distinction? Because otherwise I can't go, it's a merit or a distinction, because the assessor will come in and go, well, yeah, but there's not sufficient relevant information. They'll look at that page and they'll go, well, you've gone and looked at some stairs, but you haven't said, like, how, what makes that feel kind of liminal. It's like the kind of color scheme, like the tiles, the ceiling tiles, that those things that have translated into your game haven't been highlighted in here. That repetition of color, space, etc., the signage and things you've got. There was really careful thought. If I think, like, again, and a lot of this is based on my insight into your project. But, like, I know for a fact, back when you did this level, you were like, oh, I'm going to put some initially you just put some posters there or some weird things in here, public information posters, and then you were like, oh, I want them to be, like, unnerving a little bit. But then people, like, pointed out to you that wasn't
the aim of what I was going for.
It wasn't in keeping with the liminal space. It then made it feel very, like, it made it sort of too explicit horror, didn't it? Where you don't want it to be really obvious. In the start, when you play this, you think, oh, this is a bit of a weird space. Why is this place flooded? You don't think, oh, this is a bit dark. This is a bit creepy. I mean, you feel a bit creepy because it's just a type of space. But when the clock starts whipping around the wrong way, and then you turn the corner and there's a little, character at the corner, that's when that happens. But you took that out because having those, like, freaky posters in there meant that you changed the player's perspective and you gave them too much information. So those are the things that you did. Like, I heard those conversations happen, and I know that was part of the process. And that's, like, the thing is, like, you probably think, well, I've made something that looks great at the end. Like, why can't you just give that a distinction? And it's like, I want to, but that you've got to join the dots up more for me to then just think someone else comes in. They haven't ever seen any of this. They just see a really nice product, but the process, they don't know. Like, what can I add to the process that tells them more about what I thought and why I did it that way? Does that make sense? So it's just examples like that. Just think back to every single example where you've done something. I think we can leave, like, again, like, maybe with Firewatch, it's like you said, okay, so set up, and do I really need to know that it's, you can leave that in there, but set in 1989 Wyoming, cool. It's a low poly art style. Some of the mechanics it had a simplistic, simple. I mean, Firewatch has quite a lot of links to yours. I think you could say, right, you could then go on to the way that they made it feel like it was set in the 80s or the late 80s was because the types of objects, there's kinds of things like that are really symbolic of that period, like the fact that they have a Walkman on the desk in the office, or like the fact that there's no reference to any technology which would enable this game, would totally change the way this game felt. Because if it had a smartphone,
you feel more safe.
And you would have a mechanic to have a mini map. You would have stuff that wouldn't make any sense in the game, and it sort of strips out. A lot of films do that, where they set in a certain era to strip out the technology, the enabling factors. So the same with yours, like, you're set in an era, a specific era or a certain art style for a reason. So, there's that justification for saying, right, it's set in this type of landscape because it, it creates these long corridors create a sense of unnervingness, and the color scheme, like, of carpets where you put them is, like, is a bit dingy, a bit dark. It's not like very nice. It's just showing that kind of thing.
All right.
So, and then to that end, imagine your bibliography page hasn't got that much on it. So
yeah, I used to do more on that.
Yeah, so it's okay, but again, like what I'd say is like if you can link where you've used these videos and you've got some of them, so that, again, like get the actual clips, insert them, maybe clip the video down, or you just show it in there, but say, right, okay, so I've looked at this and this is what I learned from.
Yeah.
The thing that you're really good at is you take the video, you don't just copy it like word bit by bit. You're quite interested in getting to the heart of it yourself, so you'll take it and then you'll do it, or you'll customize it, or you'll try and do it without watching a video, so it's stuck in, won't you? Like you're someone who strives to like not just rely on someone else showing you. You want to do these things independently.
There's a lot of things I know, like the basic things of like a cinematic or whatever. Yeah, I can do like I don't need to watch a video for it now.
No, exactly. But that's only because your process is that you make yourself not just watch the video, you try to then do it without watching it. Yeah. And like, so those things have stuck over time. So like I say, there's so much that's good about this project, so much that is really, really strong. Get rid of this car on these pages as well.
Yeah, I just want to get like finished screenshots of some levels before I put like, I don't know, half done ones or whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. I understand that. But so make sure all that's stripped out.
Yeah.
Just if you can park any practical work now, other than getting play testing, get feedback, get that formally recorded, the final demo, if what people say about it, that can be reflected on it in research as well. Yeah. So that would be a nice thing to show. But equally, the fact you've done a little playtest earlier on, try and just document and show that what happened at those stages and what you did as a result of the feedback at those stages. And then go ahead and get all the other information that you think you can add to it at this stage on there.
All right.
Like I say, the outcome, absolutely stunning, brilliant. Like one of the strongest bits of work I've ever seen on a year one final project. So just make sure you give me every opportunity, because you'll be, if you get that bit of paper and it says distinction, you'll be absolutely buzzing. But if you think, right, it's just because I couldn't make myself blog for the last few days, I think you'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
And I would as well. I want to be able to give it that grade. So just try and do that. And if you need pointers like specifics on, say you grind to a hole and you can't think what to add, then this would be the bit where you've been great in the room as well by sharing your practice with people in terms of like showing them techniques. You've been showing Cody stuff. He's great at blogging. This could be the moment where you say, "Oh, Cody, what could I blog about this?" And then he'll give you things to like detail to add to give to that. Do you know what I mean? So it's that two-way process. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Anything else you want to cover in this?
No, that's great. Thank you.
All right. Let's stop that recording now.